right, let's get started. As said, my name is Jeff Weijers. I am VP Partnerships here at Lobster, and a warm welcome to this technical enablement webinar. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues, which are Jetro Bosche, Chief Product and Technology Officer. I'm also joined by Marco Schotke, who is Director of Product here at Lobster, Rick Bos, Director of Engineering, and yeah, I think we're definitely ready to go and give you some nice information today. I'd like to tell everyone that this information that you will be getting today, you will receive today, will also be shared via our partner portal. So you don't need to grab your pen and paper, but you can just wait for the information to appear at the portal. We're also trying to record the entire session, but definitely the presentations will be shared with you. So having said that, I'd also like to give you the opportunity to ask your questions. Please do that via our chat. We will definitely notice all the questions asked, and at the end of the seminar, of the webinar, we will start looking at those questions and answer them if they haven't been answered yet during the session. But please feel free to ask them straight away once you have any questions. All right, let's go to the agenda very briefly. We first are going to go through a deep dive of the MCP, the Model Context Protocol Server. Then we'll do a deep dive on Lobster Bridge, and then it's time to answer all of your technical questions that you may have after you've received all the information. Good. So then I'd like to hand over to Jetro, who is going to start this off with you. Jetro.
Yes, thank you, Jeff, and very warm welcome to everybody today in the meeting or in the webinar. As you know, partners are very important to us, so we're very excited to share some more details with all of you today. So let's get started. Here we go. So what's important to us is that we want to share the same material with you as partners as we share internally with our sales and sales engineering teams. So in order to do that today, we will go over indeed Lobster MCP and Lobster Bridge. But before we do that, we also want to share with you a significant technical enablement guide we've been working on internally, and which our sales engineers are also using with our customers. And we do that because we believe that you are, of course, an extension to Lobster, right? You're very close to us, and we want to make sure that you have access to the same materials as we can use ourselves. So I want to start off with showing you a little bit how the technical enablement guide is structured. So that way, when you get to see it in the partner portal, I think early next week, then you're not surprised and you actually know how you can use it. It's a big deck, so I will not go over every slide, but I would love to share at least the structure with you today. So in order to do that, I have to switch my screen here a little bit. Give me 1 second. Here we go. I'll share this one with you. Right. Yes, here it is. So our technical enablement deck, it has 3 main components, and we'll share the full deck with you. And I wanted to explain a little bit what those components are all about. So it will contain architecture, so you can show to your customers or to prospects how the Lobster Data Platform is built up, basically, and what type of big building blocks are in there. So it's a high-level overview of our platform. Secondly, it contains an overview of use cases, like examples of what you can do with our platform. And finally, It contains an overview of technical capabilities that the platform has. And for every capability, there is a detailed slide. So that means that you can really go down on the details on what is this capability about, what customer challenges does it solve, and how can you use it. And with this, we feel you will have a lot more information than you had historically from us to talk to your customers. Now, I want to go in 2 or 3 slides as examples so you know what to expect. And let's start with the architecture slide. So many of you will probably recognize a picture like this. And here you actually see how we like to talk about our platform, meaning we have our integration layer. Many of you know this as Lobster Data. We have our orchestration layer. Many of you know this historically as Lobster Pro. And on top of that, we are now building supply chain collaboration features such as our CAP connector or our e-invoicing module or web EDI templates. Those of you who've seen our release webinar from 3 weeks ago have seen much more details on that already. So if you want to learn more, please check that out. It's on YouTube and on our website, you can see it. But this is typically how we like to talk about our platform, and it's all underpinned by our generic platform services, where Pathfinder, our AI Copilot, is the new kid on the block there, but also Lobster Bridge, which we will go deeper on today. So this is basically how we typically like to start when we speak to our customers. And from there, we want to typically bridge it towards use cases. So if you go there, what's interesting is that what customers get typically excited about is what can you now build with this platform. So what we did here is we outlined examples of what different customers are building with the Lobster Data Platform in different categories. So pure data integration use cases, cases which are more about human interaction. So building portals, for example, to have more control over manual integration flows, process automation cases, up until supply chain intelligence, where we work together with software vendors, for example, for CO2 reduction or route optimization algorithms. And the idea is that if you show your customers some examples of what you can build, typically it's easier for them to kind of map it to value in their head. That's why I think it's important to always talk about customer use cases. Over time, we also really want to have individual slides for each use case, but it's a lot of work to create. So we started with an overview, but over time we will have more in-depth use case documentation. And the idea is that we update this deck then every quarter with new releases, with new content, and also make it available to you as partners. So you always have the most up-to-date information of what we have to offer to our customers. Now, if you can go back, the final, let's say, category of content in this deck is about our platform capabilities. And this is where the most meat on the bone is today, because we realize that our platform is very big and we have not done historically maybe a great job in enabling you on all the different modules and capabilities that we have, especially now that we moved data and orchestration together in one platform. There's a lot of capabilities to cover. So we listed them all out here. And for every capability, we have a detailed slide. So we clustered it in groups, capabilities around connectivity, around data processing, around visualization and interaction. This is, of course, a lot of coming from Pro historically. Our supply chain collaboration features, which are all new. And finally, everything around operations and deployment of the platform. And every slide has a concrete example and more details. So I'll pick it up here. For example, EDI. You'll see here, and every slide has the same structure. What challenge does this capability solve for a customer? What are the key benefits of doing this with Lobster? And an example of how can customers use this capability. So this is how we did it for EDI, but if you go to API, you'll see the exact same structure coming back. You'll see it for each and every capability we documented. It's always, what's the customer challenge? What are key benefits? And how customers use this? Now you get the full deck, including the speaker's notes. And in the speaker's notes, you will find 2 or 3 paragraphs really outlining how we would like to talk about it as Lobster. You don't have to memorize that, of course, from the top of your head, but it will provide you with more context on what is this capability about, what can it do, to really help you with content on how to speak with our customers about our capabilities. So all of this will be shared with you. One interesting thing is, of course, also Pathfinder. Here you will see a slightly different structure, more focused on what do we do with AI and our Copilot. So those are, I think, are good examples of how we provide you with even more details on how to speak with our customers. So the summary of this is you get the architecture, you get an overview of the use cases, and you get all of the technical capabilities with more context, so you can talk with your customers about it, and also educate your internal teams if you want to do that. And we will update this deck release after release, and keep updating it also on the partner portal. Now, if you start to use this and you have additional questions or feedback, feel very free to reach out to either Marco or myself, because we would love to hear from you if this is working for you in practice, if you miss information, if you think it's too generic or too detailed, because we want to make sure that we equip you with the content that you need to be successful. All right, so if we then go back to the main storyline of today, let me go back there myself as well. And we're here. So we showed you the technical enablement deck. We'll provide it to you after the webinar. So now let's go into the details of today. I wanted to say a few words on our AI strategy, after which I hand it over to Marco to give you more examples and more practical insight. But we got questions from many of you about how does Lobster feel about AI and what's our direction. So I wanted to share with you that we have two fundamental beliefs which we use to underpin our product strategy. The first one is that we believe that AI is a real opportunity for all of us, including US partners, because from our point of view, AI amplifies and not eliminates the need for data integration. So every customer wants to do something with AI, needs to first have a solid data strategy in place. And as you all know, many of our customers have huge data silos and they struggle with getting data out of their systems. And that's why they need a data platform. So what we do is to want to help customers to really become AI ready. And we, in order to get to that point, we have added an MCP functionality, Model Context Protocol functionality, to our platform. And we'll talk about more about that part of our AI strategy today. The second part of what we believe is that we can be even faster on the data platform itself. So we can lower our time to value and increase the return on investments for our customers by providing them with an AI-driven Copilot. We call it Pathfinder. If you want to learn a lot more about it, in the last release webinar, we shared demos and examples of what it can do. And what you will see happening over the next, let's say, months, that we will consistently start to or keep investing in Pathfinder and make it more and more powerful. So it's just really this Copilot you have, or this buddy which sits there in the platform, helping our customers, our users, to build faster and easier with the Lobster Data Platform. So that's Copilot called Pathfinder, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there over the next months and years to come. So those are our two main strategies. On the one side, making sure our customers can really leverage AI to their advantage through AI-ready integrations. And on the other side, in the platform itself, have a Copilot available so that they can build faster with our technology. With that, I would very much like to hand it over to Marco, because he will show you concretely what Lobster MCP then really is. And you are still muted, Marco.
Yeah, I know I have forgotten something. So, thanks, Jethro. Thanks for the quick handover. And as Jethro already mentioned, so really the key to have a successful AI initiative at an organization of your customers is the data strategy, or how I can feed data into the context of this generalistic AI models, because the models are not trained with the data of your customers. So the models don't know about all the specifics of products that BMW is producing, just as an example, or the models I don't know all the specifics of an invoice of an ERP system from your customer. And here exactly our MCP comes into play. So with MCP, we give you a structured, standardized way to make data accessible from any kind of legacy data who's connected to our platform, and feed them on a standard way into the AI model. So, and in that case, it doesn't matter what kind of AI your customer or you are using. So it could be Anthropic, it could be OpenAI, it could be the models from Google, Gemini. So the only thing they need is an MCP client or supporting the MCP protocol, who is, so to say, nearly an industry standard these days. And then you can create tools really easy, like you did that with a REST API endpoint in our orchestration capabilities, and define exactly what kind of data you want to feed and what kind of context into the AI. So imagine, and this is also one example I will share with you later on, you have an e-commerce system, and you have an ERP system or an old PIM system or even a mail server, and you want to provide some information of your PIM system or your ERP system through an AI bot, where then give the end user of your customers the capability to interact like a service bot with the data of him, right? So imagine that's a chatbot or any kind of MCP client, even for your internal team, and you ask dedicated question about the ERP system or about data who will lay in your ERP system. So in our context, in our MCP world now, you easily can create tools. You can define a query to a database, or you can easily also just call a profile and feed that data on request to the AI. For that, you just define a tool. It's like defining an endpoint in REST API, and that's it. You just provide some information about what the tool is doing. So you can describe, okay, this tool is querying invoice table and can answer our questions on invoices for a customer. And the rest is handled by the MCP protocol. So it's a really standardized and easy way to do that. But I think it's better to see some examples. So for that, we provide a video. In our video right now, we're using the MCP client from Anthropic just for demo purposes. As I said, so MCP is a standard protocol. You can use every model. You can even use every client you want to. For the demo, we use the Anthropic one because it's the easiest one. And in our use case, we present here. This is exactly what I described. So we define some tools on our platform to interact with a fictive ERP system, and you can directly interact in natural language with the data and get your questions done, so to say, or your job done. So I hope you can see that. Let's play the video now.
The client is now using the tools provided by our MCP server setup, which exposes endpoints to retrieve data. First, it checks the customer ID. Then it retrieves the customer's orders. There's an issue with one of the orders. It's only partially confirmed, and the system now asks us, would you like to get more detailed information about any specific order? So let's ask, why isn't this order confirmed?
And here you can see
another endpoint is called
tools
to fetch details from the EP system. There are already some alternatives available by pulling data from other PIM endpoints. Maybe we should ask which article performed best last year. Which one was the bestseller last year? As we can see, the data warehouse endpoint is being queried several times for the different alternatives. And the winner is this article. So perhaps we should follow up on this suggestion and ask Cloud to replace the unavailable position with the best seller. First, the position is set to cancelled and a new one is created. Since we provide a tool called Send Mail that runs after an order change, Cloud generates an HTML email and sends it to the customer to confirm the e-order update. If we look behind the scenes, you can see the MCP server setup with all the endpoints. Let's take a closer look at some of them. For example, this endpoint retrieves data from PIM, including possible alternatives, and therefore a profile is called. Let's jump into the profile, where we see a search is completed, and we can see the results are being passed back to us.
Okay, so that was the quick demo. I hope that helps to explain a bit the concept behind that. But I think in the end of the presentation, we are open for a lot of your questions, answering all of them if possible, and even in German if you need it. So I'm bilingual, so I can even speak German in answering on that as well. But having said that, I would say I will hand over to my colleague Rick, who gives us a deep dive on the bridge. Rick.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marco. So I want to talk about Lobster Bridge, which is the way we've introduced with our new release 25.1 to make a secure connection between on-premises on one hand and the cloud on the other hand. So what we saw is a lot of our customers were looking for a secure way to make communications between, on one hand, their data platform, and on the other hand, all kinds of external systems. And of course, they don't want to expose those systems directly to the internet. Like you don't want to publish a database on the internet or put a file system on the internet. So the idea was we want to create a tunnel to make sure that we can manage and streamline all kinds of requests between all those systems. So customers have one tunnel that they can do everything on, instead of having to create like all kinds of multiple VPNs, which create typically like complicated setups. And we also see that some of our customers say, well, we have this centralized Lobster Data Platform where we want to connect to all kinds of different locations. For instance, all kinds of business partners, trading partners, or maybe multiple of their data warehouses. So they want to be able to connect into all those different systems, and therefore you can also have multiple bridge installations. From a very high level perspective, how does it look? On one hand, you have the Lobster Data Platform, and the Lobster Data Platform is somehow connected to the public internet. And that is also the place where you want to configure all your integrations, where you want to set up your integrations and settings, maybe expose an MCP server. But it's also the place from where you want to connect to, let's say, that internal database, or where you want to trigger an ETL job, or where you want to exchange files with people. So what we do from there, we connect to individual Lobster Bridge instances in the relevant network, so we can have the secure tunnel, and then from there we can execute the jobs. So centralized configuration in the Lobster Data Platform, but decentralized networking. To look at this in a little bit more detail, let's look at, for instance, how you configure the database. So you create a database connection like you're used to through a presets, in this case MySQL. But what you could do now is you can say connect via bridge instead of a direct connection. You basically specify the right driver, you have the JDBC URL, you add authentication, and in this case, basically you store it, and then basically you see if you log into the bridge and you refresh the screen, you see that same database connection. So centralized configuration, decentralized execution. If I now select this database in my SQL console, I can write a query. And if I hit execute, again, it will basically fetch this data through the bridge. And it's the same with ETL jobs. So you can configure your ETL jobs in the way that you're used to. And then at the bottom, you can specify that you want to run this on an external server, and there you select the server alias, which is one of your bridges. If you hit save and start, you can basically go into the logs in the centralized platform. You can see it was running successfully, and if you would log into the bridge, you'll see the exact same thing. So also there in the control center, you'll have local logs where you can see the same 2 jobs being executed successfully. It's almost going to be a repetition. For AS2, it's the exact same thing. You configure a partner channel, and on the partner channel, basically you can say this actually runs on the Lobster bridge. So in this case, it also runs there. If I then go into the configuration, you see that the configuration is synced, including all the certificates and everything you need for a good AS2 handshake. And you can see it was able to execute inbound and outbound AS2 transfers. That is then being transferred into like the profiles, so receiving profiles and sending profiles. And if I hit the jobs per profile, you'll see the exact same files being exchanged. So to summarize, what you just saw is with the Lobster bridge, you're able to create a seamless integration between your Lobster data platform on one hand, and on the other hand, database connectivity, ETL jobs, as well as AS2 file integration. So you don't have to worry about the risks of security with exposing all those individual systems and protocols. We just have one secure tunnel to link the local network to that Lobster data platform. Now you may recall I said somehow cloud, somehow on premises, but we see our customers have different scenarios. On one hand, we have the scenario on the left-hand side where the Lobster platform runs for us in the Lobster cloud. Then basically the setup is super simple. You basically have the Lobster cloud, and then you can install the Lobster bridge anywhere, and then basically all the information is routed through the Lobster gateway. It's something that we also host. It's something we also manage in an HA setup. So it's super simple to set up. It's plug and play, and there is this one connection. On the other hand, some of our customers say, well, we actually run our Lobster platform on premises. We don't run it in the Lobster cloud, but we run it in a different cloud, or we even run it on our own bare metal. Then this setup also works. And basically what we can do then is we can transform the DMZ, starting with 25.1, we transform the DMZ also into a private gateway. So basically, as soon as you then open up a port from the DMZ, and the Lobster bridge is able to find that DMZ and they can find each other, then all traffic is routed through there. So that does mean that the customer needs a little bit more setup because they need to set up the gateway the gateway networking and routing, but they still don't have to set up a VPN. They still don't have to expose all those systems underlying. And then you can connect through that DMZ like you're used to with other types of integrations. And we do see customers that use either of the two scenarios. And as I said, sometimes you want to connect multiple data centers. So that's why you can have multiple bridges. Well, how do we keep this secure, you might ask, and how do we make this so easy? So basically the trick is in the pyramid you see on the right-hand side. So you have the platform, you have the bridge, you have the gateway for routing the connections, but we also have the registry. And that registry makes sure that all the bridges and platforms can easily find each other without doing too much setup. So the idea is to keep everything secure, as everybody in this whole setup has their own private key and public certificate. And of course, the private key will never leave a system. And the public certificates is what we use for authentication as well as encryption. And we store those in the centralized Lobster Bridge registry, which basically makes sure that as soon as you have one ID, you can exchange everything you need to exchange to initiate and manage the connection. So the Lobster Data Platform basically registers a bridge configuration in the registry with an ID and a secret. It generates a key pair and it stores the public key in the registry. And from the registry, it can access everything it needs to connect to the bridge. And it's the same with the bridge. That uses the ID that you as a user put in, and then basically it retrieves everything it needs from the registry. It creates its own private key and a public certificate, uploads that in the registry, and then from the platform you can fetch that. And once that is in place, it can set up a secure tunnel to the gateway, and then the platform can find it through the same gateway. So that configuration actually works quite straightforward. I create a new entry. So in this case, I create a bridge entry. I specify a password, or I use an auto-generated one. And in case I want to do that, I link it to a business partner. Once I do that, I download the Lobster Bridge installation file and I transfer that to the server where I want to install it. On there, basically execute one command to install the server, and then I execute a second command to make sure that I can also start the service. Once I've started it up, I can basically log into the local management console, and I can create myself a bridge admin user to make sure that I can access the information. After that, I paste the bridge ID. So that's the one that was generated on the LDP. And secondly, I paste that password that was shown one time. This is used to basically create that handshake through the registry. We generate a certificate here, and we download the certificate from the LDP, and basically then you can see everything is there. From the platform, I can refresh, and basically I need to pull the latest version from the registry. And then you can see that I can do one last check on the bridge. I can see everything is green. And if I go here and I hit refresh, you can see that the bridge came online. So all you needed to do was basically creating that initial installation, generate an ID, paste it, and then it works. I'm actually think it's super cool to announce with the next release, we're trying to make this even easier, and we're also going to include an unattended installation. So you don't need to execute all those commands yourself. So I think it's a good repetition. How do we keep this secure? So basically, I already showed you we use these key pairs, and basically we use these key pairs to make sure that we do all the communication on HTTPS if it goes on the public internet. So that also means that everything is encrypted, authenticated, tamper-proof, and super secure, even if the underlying database underneath it that you're connecting through might not support TLS encryption. Everything that goes on the public internet is encrypted. And of course, the Lobster Bridge will not directly accept inbound connections. Everything needs to go through these key pairs. So we actually make sure that only the LDP that is linked to this bridge can talk to this bridge, and that everything is, of course, authenticated and encrypted. So this makes sure to keep everything super secure. And to keep it easy as well, we basically said we don't want to have like yet another system to manage. So basically, it's super easy to keep this maintained and updated. So if you log into that admin console, you can access some logs and you can run an update. But on the other hand, we also know that if you have, let's say, 30 bridges running out there in the field, you want to be able to push remote updates from the centralized platform to all those bridge instances. So from the bridge connection screen I showed, you can see which versions people are on, and you can also push additional versions. So basically, very good summary is the whole idea here is we connect cloud or customer on-premises installations with other networks without having to go through all the hassle of setting up VPNs and securing individual connections. And I think with that, I want to hand it back to you, Jethro.
Thank you, Rick. Let me pull it back up. Yes. So thank you for that. I think it gave quite an interesting deep dive on where we are with Lobster Bridge and how we support deployment scenarios where some data lives on-prem, but customers still want to benefit from the cloud, or where customers want to connect to trading partners and install the bridge on the side of their trading partners. We also have examples of that. So to wrap things up, what can you expect from us next? Moving towards 26.1, our next release, which is planned in January. The goal is to release this in the middle or slowly towards the end of January, providing you with new capabilities again. There's a longer list, of course, of what we are working on, but the highlights are that we want to expand further what Pathfinder can do. For example, text to SQL, where you can describe what you want when you need to create SQL queries in the platform, and it would just generate the queries for you. as well as an easier way to create cron syntax or cron settings, basically. So I want this job to run in the middle of the night unless it's an uneven day in February, things like that. Those syntaxes can be quite hard to create. We also want to do that with natural language through Pathfinder. That means that you slowly see that Pathfinder goes beyond describing what's going on in the platform to really generating things for you. That's a journey we are on, and that's what we target for mid-January. Second thing is a trading partner manager. Here, the idea is that if our customers want to onboard new trading partners, there's often a lot of back and forth between the customer and their partners. So what certificates to use, what integration protocols, lots of emails going back and forth. Through the trading partner manager, this will become easier and more self-service, meaning that a trading partner can upload, for example, a certificate, or we want to create automatically the channels. Those types of things is what we're working on. And finally, a new way of visualizing profile change. What we've heard from a lot of both customers as well as partners is that when you build a lot of profiles and connect them together, it's hard to keep the overview. So we want to build a new visualization on how profiles interact together, but even go further than that and also show you how maybe a portal in the orchestration layer is calling a profile, or the other way around, how a profile fills an entity on which a form is based, or things like that, to really make sure that you can have cross-platform visibility on how things interact together. And we'll do this in steps. So we'll focus first on multi-profile visualization, but step by step, this will become a new visualization layer to show you all the dependencies across the platform, which allows you to have an easier life when it comes to maintaining and changing what you've built on the platform. Finally, I would like to draw your attention a little bit to our product roadmap, because we have published that transparently online on our website. We would very much like to invite you to go there. You can upvote features, you can leave feedback, you can submit new ideas, and you can see what we are currently working on the work in progress tab. And you can also see what we are considering to invest next. So you can see there in the work in progress tab, if you go to the website, what we're planning for January. And you can also see what we want to do maybe in April or again, a quarter later, because every quarter we will release a new version moving forward. And there you can exactly track what we're doing. I know many of you, and I am personally also reading many of the feedback. I know Marco and Rick do this too. I know many of you are already using this, so thank you for that. Keep doing that, because your upvotes and your feedback there, they do matter to us, and we'll use it to make roadmap priority decisions. Might also be that we reach out to some of you when you give certain feedback, and Marco and the team think, I would like to know more about this, or maybe you want to try out the beta feature because we've been implementing your feedback. We might reach out to you as well, if you're up for that, of course. So please feel free to go there and provide feedback to us. With that, I would very much, I think we're right on time, like to open up the floor for questions. Marco, I see you coming in. I think I see one question coming in, which I think is for you. So very much like to open it up there. Exactly. Feel free to enter your questions in the chat, or speak up. We can also do this in German.
Yes, exactly. So one question is for the MCP functionality in our plans for the roadmap, especially on authentication, authorization with OAuth. So MCP is part of a bigger initiative we have for the next releases to provide a new capability on managing APIs in general. So it's not only about MCP, it's also about renovate what we have with REST endpoints, maybe also add GraphQL in the future. So from the protocol side, and a lot of enterprise functionalities like rate limiting, throttling, and even also authorization, authentication, also role-based. And yes, so the signal is yes, that's our roadmap, and authorization, authentication is part of it. In 26.1, there will be the first steps in this direction. For instance, also to add rate limiting, but also dealing with your channels or with your partner channels and interact and link them to one of the MCPs or REST APIs to do also the authorization authentication thing. I cannot share any details yet because it's in development, But yeah, definitely, it's a bigger thing, and we will invest into this actively over the next 12 months with several releases.
Excellent. I don't see any more questions popping up in the chat. So
no.
Let's wait a little bit longer if anyone dares, or maybe it was so clear everything that that it actually doesn't bring any questions. That's fantastic.
Be not shy. You also can raise German questions. So
exactly.
No worries.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then I think we can conclude this webinar. There's one more coming. Yes. And that question is.
Let me read that first.
Yeah. Which abilities does a Lobster MCP server potentially have? So is it as powerful as a profile can be, or less so?
It's on top of profiles, so it will definitely not replace a profile, but you can imagine an MCP tool could be anything you technical can do with an API as well, or even with our orchestration capabilities in API today. So you can call a profile, so to get the data out of the profile and then provide it in the context of your AI via MCP. That's one way. You can even query a database, or you even call another API, so another REST API. So I think it's not, I would not say it's limitless, but it's nearly limitless what you can do.
Yes, you could even say, yes, it's as powerful as a profile and then some more.
Yes.
So whatever you can do with a profile, you can expose that through MCP, but you can do even more, like orchestrate maybe even some workflows or do multiple profiles in an API and then back. So it can be actually quite powerful. So everything which you can do with a profile, you can do as well via MCP, because MCP front ends the profile then.
Yeah, exactly. No, there is no documentation available yet. The reason is we are migrating our whole documentation through a new system at the moment. So it's not online available, but you can reach out to your partner manager, and we have some PDFs and some early versions. But in the end, I will just really encourage you to let's try it out, because it's from the how to set up way, it's not quite different to a REST API method. So instead of defining a get or post method, you're defining a tool. But the rest, then how to call a profile or how to query a database, all that stuff is quite similar.
I think.
Yes, sorry, Rick, go ahead.
So on the same lines, I know for Lobster Bridge there is also some, let's say, lacking documentation. We have a handout available that can also be requested in the same way, and I will check with Jeffrey if we can even upload that to the partner portal.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. I think we should do maybe that exactly, just to make it as easy for you to get it while we migrate to our new documentation tool, and then we publish it online. We could even consider, but now I'm brainstorming without having talked to my colleagues before, but we could even consider. So one thing, we can even consider to upload one of the how-to videos we have internally, which we created, how to create an MCP tool, right? The one from Philip, for example, just for the partner, so they can actually see behind the curtain a little bit. I think it makes it easy until we have the documentation done.
Definitely, but as said, the documentation should be ready this year, so it's not not that long anymore, right? So we are really hard working on it. Probably the first version in English is available at the end of November already, then even including MCP.
Yeah.
That is very nearby, so that is good. That's good news. All right. Any more questions? Not yet. Shall we give it a little? Let's see. Okay. Yes, that is indeed the question that was just answered. Will the documentation be available in the partner portal? That's what we're aiming for, to provide you with all that documentation, but also videos, instructions, links when needed. recordings of sessions like this one, but also others. In the end, that should be a great catalog where you can find that kind of information. So certainly that's what the partner portal is for. Then the other question is, using the data platform in AWS Cloud, how much does the Lobster Bridge cost when using the public bridge gateway? That's an interesting question, which I can't answer right now.
Do you want to take it, Marco, or shall I take it?
No, you can take it. It's just pricing,
Yeah.
right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, if you run on the AWS Cloud and you want to use the public gateway, we do not charge specifically for Bridge. So you could say it's free to use because what we monetize, as you know, are the configuration items, so the number of profiles here. So at the end of the day, with the public gateway, you can just use it. I think behind the scenes, you will monitor how much traffic goes through, and through a fair use policy at some point, if this gets wild, we have to look at the details. But right now, it is free of charge. You can just use it. So it's not a separate priced line item at this point. The idea here is that we want to make it as easy as possible to get securely to the data, and this is not at this point a monetized feature. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I guess that's the best answer that you can give to to everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's see. We answered all the questions that are currently in the chat. Maybe something else pops up. I'll give it a few seconds. I think nothing else appears, so that would mean that we indeed can conclude this this webinar. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for being here, for paying attention. Of course, also my colleagues who are here and who has actually provided all the information to you. We will end the recording, and we will upload the video to the partner portal as promised, just like the other documentation. And yeah, then I'd like to thank you again, wishing you a very nice day, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, see you.